is up, Karma Nation? Welcome here to MMA DFS Live. That's right. As you can see right below us, we still have MMA, y'all. We have Bales, our MMA GOAT, and Dave as well, jumping in on the stream to give you guys all the insight you need to win on MMA today, because we have, I think, three options listed on DraftKings. There's the MMA, the soccer, which I believe at 4 p.m. today. It's not confirmed yet, but we're looking at 4 p.m. to do a Liga MX stream with Frosty and Luke as well. So make sure you tune in for that. No matter what channel you're watching us on right now, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Periscope, Twitter, any of that jazz, make sure you do head over to our YouTube channel by just either going to karmamedia.live, just typing that in your search engine, or just simply typing DFS Karma in the YouTube search to find it, and then subscribe to that, because if it's a live stream, more than likely you'll see it on all these channels. But if it's a recorded pod that we're going to be doing, then it's only going to be on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe to that there. We do have a partnership with DraftKings, as you see right over here to the side of Bale's face. Get $20 in free play credit. That is still active for the next 3 days. So in 3 days that will expire. If you have not taken advantage of that yet, you can only do it once. Otherwise, you'll be able to milk DraftKings for like 5,000 free bucks. Go to dfskarma.com. Click on the head banner. After you do that, log into your DraftKings account and then deposit $20 or more, and they'll just automatically add, like instantly, an extra $20 in free credit to your account. So you can use that $20 for MMA today, or use it for Liga MX if you're more of a soccer player, which I believe is 7 p.m. lock today. So we're going to make this short and sweet. We love doing these live streams because we love you when you guys ask questions. We can answer them live on stream. There's a good chance, because there are so few opportunities, that you are watching this having never played MMA DFS before or have never even watched MMA fight or anything like that. This is your opportunity to ask people who play, who watch frequently, who have that expert intel. So don't be afraid, no matter what channel you're watching on. Like I said, there's like 1,000 different channels we're streaming on right now. No matter what channel, ask in the chat, and we're going to go to your questions one at a time here. But with that being said, let's go ahead and start rock and rolling here. So what we're going to do first is go down tiers. So we're going to divide the entire tier system of what is available right now, DraftKings salary-wise, from high tier, mid tier, and low tier. So before we go back and forth, Bales, kind of detail those tiers here. So I guess high tier, like who's the lowest person in the high tier, and then what's the salary range for the mid tier as well? What are we thinking here for this particular slate of how people are?
I mean, if you just want to, we can do something like the high tier can be dropped down to Johnny Walker at 8,600. Mid tier can go down to like Charles Oliveira at 7,900, and low tier anything below that. MMA is really weird. If you haven't ever played before, I don't know. You should be asking any questions that even relatively pop into your head. Also, if you don't plan on playing this over the long haul, don't play cash games. It's a super volatile sport where like a minus 500 favorite can go get knocked out and score 0. You'll immediately lose your cash games then. So it's a long run sport. Whereas like tournaments, it's better because it's so volatile. But I don't know. It's just some kind of housekeeping stuff where like if you watch the fights today, you're not going to understand who's winning, why they're winning, most likely. I disagree with a bunch of decisions, and I know the sport, so you're never going to sit there and be like, this. Yeah, you're not going to ever sit there and be like, yep, this guy won, and then have them win every time. That's not how it works. A lot of weird decisions. I don't know. It's a weird sport. It's fun, but you're going to get frustrated. I can almost promise you that.
Wasn't there like a controversial ending in the last event where the guy's literally still on his feet and they called the fight?
That was two cards ago. It was Iron Cutelaba. He pretended to get rocked on his feet because he wanted to counter strike, which first in and of itself is just beyond stupid. But you could tell that he was fine, and the ref stopped it. So I mean,
they stopped it after he swung. He swung, and he was fine. It was clear he was fine.
There's just stuff like that, and you're gonna have. I know a lot of people last week thought Joanna beat Weili Zhang. Zhang won on the scorecards. Like there's just going to be fights where you're like, my guy definitely won, and then your guy will lose. It's that, especially in Brazil if you're not taking the Brazilian fighters.
So Josh Davis on YouTube just chimed in. He goes, Bales is doing a good job of selling MMA. I appreciate the honesty. Well, yeah, like we're not gonna like BS and say like, oh, put all your money into cash, or whatever. Like it is what it is. Like if you, it's extremely
If you
volatile.
can't take volatility, this isn't the sport for you. And I mean, I'm sorry if like you're bummed out and you're like, oh, I don't want that, and there's no other sports going. But it's a volatile sport where a lot of odd things happen, and like it's better to know that going in than me be like, yeah, this is gonna be so much fun, and then something weird happens, and you're like, I'm never playing again. Like you should know heading in that there's gonna
Oh
be
yeah,
some
I think MMA is more volatile than NASCAR is if I were to compare the two. So
Oh yeah.
that's the NASCAR guy right there. So
yeah, I mean, it's just I get so frustrated some weekends. I've gotten to the point where I'm not playing anymore. I'm never playing another card again.
oh, I say that every weekend, I think.
Yeah.
So, like I mentioned at the beginning, so we're going to go through the tiers that Bales just detailed: the high tier, low tier, mid tier, or high tier, mid tier, low tier, and then also at the end, Price Picks still has MMA contests. And if you have not, which is of course good timing, it just popped up there on the side of Bale's face again. If you have not, I'm gonna reference Bale's face the entire stream. Just look to the side of his face. So Price Picks, go to PricePicks.online. Not subscribe. Sign up for a free account. Use promo code Karma, get a free up to $1,000 free deposit bonus on that, and you also get a free 2-pick play that if it hits, you get $50. So they got a lot of promos going on for this to kind of push the Prize Picks, especially with the almost no sports going on. And with that being said, they do have MMA, so we're going to touch on that towards the end. But yeah, keep those questions coming in. We're going to address them momentarily. But let's start off with Dave here on the high tier now. As Bill just mentioned, it is an extremely volatile sport, and also something that you may not have seen yet. FanDuel, which we all can assume is because of the disaster of the coronavirus, has now added MMA to their offerings. But from what these two guys tell me, the scoring is insanely different. So, Bales, I believe you said when we were texting earlier that you're staying away from cash completely on FanDuel until you can kind of get a better understanding of the scoring system there, right?
Yeah, don't play cash. I mean, you can play cash on FanDuel if you're a weirdo.
Oh man,
don't.
I'm gonna clip that.
Don't
If you're
play
a
cash.
weirdo.
The problem with playing cash on FanDuel so far is that they, one, the scoring's so different, so it's going to be a little weird. You can realistically work your way around that, though, if you want to put in a bunch of time before the card starts. The problem that I have is that they have a different stat provider from DraftKings, and since significant strikes in MMA are 100% subjective to what your stat provider is giving, you basically have no clue how they're going to score the fights. So it's almost impossible to predict, I would say.
All right, so be safe, play the GPPs, but just not even that much bankroll, just to kind of figure out how they score first. Yeah, don't go crazy on FanDuel then. So yeah, back to Dave.
It's the first week, so just that FanDuel's ever done it, so just kind of know that going in.
So yeah, Dave, your favorite high tier play overall, and then while you detail them, kind of mention if they on DraftKings if they're more of a cash or GPP play, or both, or hybrid, if you will.
Yeah. All right. So I mean, for me, I'm glad you stopped at Walker because I was worried you're gonna limit me here. But I'm probably going Enrique Barzola. Let's see. This is my first MMA podcast, so I'm gonna kind of be jumping around here and here, looking at stats. The finish, the finish line for him isn't great, but I think he's got the third best line when it comes to decision win. I think he's minus 195 to win. Last time I looked. He's got, he's not, like I say, he's not going to finish. He's probably not going to finish fight, but he's got takedown ability on Yaya. And that on DraftKings, for sure. I can't remember on FanDuel. I'm going to talk more DraftKings. I'm not going to be honest with you. I'm not going to talk about FanDuel stuff. He's got 4.56 takedown abilities. Also, that gives you some significant strike upside as well at 3. I had that stat pulled up. 3 point. 3.93.
Now, just not to
So
cut you off there in the middle of that. Now, what exactly
yeah,
is this 3.93 and this
per
4.6? What is this?
3.93 per minute. So like Bales was talking about significant strikes. It's a really important stat when it comes to fantasy MMA. So you're looking for guys, that are gonna throw, and on DraftKings you're looking at. Whereas on FanDuel, like Bales and you and I were talking on our text last night, FanDuel doesn't really reward the grappler, that was it that doesn't because we don't get advances and stuff like that
Yeah.
on FanDuel. So, but on DraftKings, you got significant strikes, you got advances, you got reversals. There's a bunch of different stats, and like Bill said, while you're watching, if you're a newbie watching this thing, you're not going to know what is what until you kind of unless you devote yourself to the sport. So significant strikes are important. That's why I'm talking about 3.93 per minute. Throughout the fight. So, that's why I think Barzola's got a little bit of upside there. He's got a takedown upside. He's probably not going to control too much once he gets on the ground. But I like him in a decision win. And at 8,700, the problem is that the upper tier on DraftKings for this slate isn't the greatest. Doesn't have the greatest upside. There's no oh, this guy's got a first round knockout. Here we go. So I'm trying to more or less do a balanced build, especially for cash games.
All right, so he's more. So that play in your favorite of the top tier is more of a cash play centric. Now, would you also throw him into GPPs as well?
Yeah. I mean, I did a 20 max today in one of the many GPPs that DraftKings opened up. And I believe, let me look at my lineup so I'm not lying. Yeah, Barzola's in my cash lineup right now, but he's also in some of my GPPs. I think he's a decent play, and I've kind of taken stands on some of the stuff because I want to take advantage of all the fish that are going to be playing.
All right. So, Bales, before you chime in on your top tier, what do you think of Dave's favorite in that range?
Yeah, I think it's good for cash because one thing that you want to look for in MMA is odds value. Barzola's what, like
190, I think, to win.
Yeah, that's the third highest, and he's like the eighth price. So that's just what we mean by odds value. Mm-hmm. I would be a little careful on him just because Ronnie Yaya is so good at BJJ that I don't know if Barzola's game plan is going to be to walk in and take him down. Yaya has 0 knockouts in his career. He has 20 sub wins. I don't know. Barzola seems like the kind of guy that would just walk in and take him down, though. And Yaya's not elite off of his back. He wins with a lot of arm triangles and top chokes, but he does have a pretty good guillotine. So I would be a little concerned with that. But if you're just getting odds value, yeah, I do really like it for cash games.
And then who's your favorite in that top tier, Bales?
I would go with Veronica Macedo. She's the third most expensive, and her odds have dropped all the way down to -155. So there's a lot of risk with her. But this card does not have many fights that are expected to end, and she actually has pretty solid odds to win inside the distance.
Can you detail that of what you mean by the fights aren't expected to win? What does that mean exactly?
Inside the distance. They're supposed to go to decision. You get bonus points for the round that it finishes in. So it's really important, especially what looks like on FanDuel scoring. It's really important to get people that finish their fights rather than win decision.
And this fight's not on FanDuel.
No, yeah, they don't have the first like 4 fights or whatever. But Macedo's plus 185 inside the distance. So Bay Malecki got to the UFC because she fought at 145 pounds, and now she dropped down to 135, where there's actual fighters. Her first 2 professional fights, neither of her opponents have had a win going into the fight. I don't think either one have a win now. And then she fought Duda Santana, who was 3-0, but very, very clearly is not a UFC caliber fighter. And she struggled at times throughout that fight, but she did pick up the second round win. I just don't think that that's the type of thing that's going to happen here. I do believe that Macedo is just going to be significantly more talented. The only issue I have is that Malecki has a pretty big size advantage. I don't know. It doesn't really scare me that much, though. So I have no problems paying up for Macedo just to try to get someone that's going to finish inside the distance.
All right, and now would you is that a cash and GPP play or one or the other? What are you playing more of that?
That's strictly, I would strictly play that in tournaments. So if you're gonna spend up, um, you should either go to Moicano or Rebus. They're $200 and $300 more. Uh, just the odds that you get on it, like Macedo is minus 155, Rebus is minus 370, and Moicano is also minus 370. Like in cash games, there's no reason to play someone that could lose, which minus 155 suggests, versus someone that has a very small chance of losing, which the minus 370, that's what that suggests.
All right, and then go ahead and keep things on your side. What is your favorite mid-tier player for this one?
I like, and this, I mean, this could just be me. So I like Charles Oliveira
Dave's got a bunch
over
of monkeys
Kevin.
jumping up top, jumping around the house. Oh man,
Oh
go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah, my kids. Yeah, what do you expect? Every week,
It's like they only do
and
that when
they're
you're
home
when
for
you're
they're
on
home for
stream.
the next they're home for the next 3 weeks too. Michigan canceled all schools for the next 3 weeks. So
All right, well go ahead, Bales. Continue with your favorite mid tier.
I'm going to go Charles Oliveira as an underdog against Kevin Lee. The odds values on Lee's side, so if you're going to use him, feel absolutely free. It's the main event, so it's a 5-round fight. Lee missed weight. They basically told him he had to stop cutting because it was getting kind of dangerous.
They're like right behind you now. Yeah, just I was gonna text you. I was like, just mute your mic when Bales is going on. So in between.
they're not even running around anymore. They're upstairs. They're not
All
even
right.
running.
Yeah, just go ahead and mute your mic so Bales can continue on here with this mid tier play.
Oh, geez, now you're gonna tell me to mute my mic? Now I don't.
Yep. All right, Bales. He's muted. You're good to go now.
All right. Lee's coming off an impressive victory, but it was against Gregor Gillespie, who has a ton of upside, but more or less a wrestler, which is what Lee is. So they kind of kept it standing, and he just hit a ridiculous head kick. I feel like he might be a little overvalued at the moment, whereas Charles Oliveira finally has put it all together. I think he's finished like each of his last 6 fights after a loss to Paul Felder, which I believe was in 2017. But he's been in the UFC for a while. His issue has never really been talent. It's kind of been whether he quits in a fight or not, which he quits a lot. That hasn't been the case in recent fights, though, and he's been finishing and winning fights impressively. It's going to be a step up in competition against Lee, but Oliveira is the more well-rounded fighter. He has fantastic BJJ. His Muay Thai should be more than enough on the feet against Lee, who is primarily a wrestler. It just seems to me that in Brazil, and here's the other big issue, is that there's no fans. So Oliveira isn't really going to get people to get behind him. And as a fighter that gasses, I feel like it's going to be more difficult to get your second wind with no fans cheering you on. So I'm a bit worried about that. I will say if you're new to MMA, you can stack the main event in cash games. I would stack this main event. So use both Lee and Oliveira in cash games. In tournaments, I think you should have one side or the other. Feel free to pick either side that you want. Personally, though, I just lean Oliveira because I feel like he has more ways to win. He's on the hot streak, and it just seems like this is his time to step up to the next level.
So a request we had in our chat is looks like I guess for people that have never played MMA before or watch MMA, they don't really know the names of these fighters, so they feel like the names are coming off the tongue a little quickly. So they requested on top of you saying the name, if you can also say the DK salary, so it's easier for them to find them when they're trying to follow along and plug things. So if you can when you're mentioning players from now on, just throw the DK salary in there. Let's see. John on YouTube says, "Feels like I'm just gonna I'm just going to waste money. I have no idea who any of these fighters are." Well, I mean, yeah, that's if you don't watch the sport and you don't follow the sport, there's I mean, that's kind of what Bales and Dave were saying earlier about, because there's so many people playing MMA DFS because there's really no other option besides the Liga MX and some LOL stuff later today. Is that, yeah, there's gonna be a lot of people that have no idea what they're doing playing. So if you feel like that is you, then I'm assuming Dave and Bales would agree that you should probably, if you're 100% not confident in anything that you're putting together, even if you're using this live stream, using Bales already has an article, MMA article that's live on dfskarma.com, and even if you're using the premium core plays that our Discord chat room is getting today as well. So if you aren't confident even after all those things and you don't want to play, of course, we're not forcing you to play MMA. But if you want to play, then we're here to give you some insight, if you will. Now, Matt on Twitter has a question. Either of you guys can answer this if you like to. Thoughts on these names? Me reading these names is not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. I'm gonna try though. Vorak. Does that sound right?
Or is it David Dvorak?
That's why. So I got it right then. You hesitated on me.
Yeah, no,
All right, yeah, but he wants to know your thoughts on that.
it's a simple fight for me, realistically. Either Dvorak keeps it standing and he wins via knockout, or this gets taken to the ground and he most likely gets controlled a little bit. I don't really think that it's overly likely that he gets finished, which is why I side with him. He actually has good inside the distance odds to win, and he's only 8K versus I believe Silva's 8,200. So I would go Dvorak. I think that it's odds value because Dvorak is priced as a dog and he is the favorite at this point. He's minus 115.
Yeah, I think that switched overnight, I think, or in the last day or two.
Yeah, and anytime you can get that, it's fine. But just know that with MMA, the majority of the time, if there's odds value on someone like that, where an underdog is actually, or a priced underdog is actually the favorite, they're probably going to get quite a bit of ownership.
All right, and so let's go back to Dave here. Crossing my fingers that the hooligans aren't as chaotic on this one with your mic muted. But what is your favorite mid-tier play? And then also,
I think I'm just gonna. Well. Yeah, well, this name should be pretty easy. I think you could even pronounce it, Travis. Nice. I'm gonna cover the other side of the main event because you need, like Bale said, you need to have exposure to this no matter what. Kevin Lee. He's 8,300. Normally in these main events, sometimes you'll see like a price difference so dramatic that you kind of are, there's somebody that will win. Whereas this one, it's kind of hard to pick. Some people do have big stands on it, like some may say Oliver, no, he's in Brazil, he's gonna win. And some are on Kevin Lee. Me personally, I've got my 20 lineups. I think I'm 60% Kevin Lee and 40% Oliveira. I have 100% exposure to this fight, no matter what. GPPs, cash, just like Bale said. I think Kevin Lee's got that. I think it's now down. If I'm looking at best fight odds, let's see, when it comes down to win by this inside the distance. Lee's number is at plus 100. Oliveira's plus 185. This fight's predicted to not go the distance. So I have no problem using Lee. I also have no problem using Oliveira. I'm kind of on the fence on who I think is going to win. But definitely one thing you want to do for all you new players out there is get exposure to the main event tonight. And as long as they keep fighting week by week here and you guys keep playing, always make sure you have exposure to that main event, like 95% of the time. There's a couple times when you get two fighters in there that are going to, no matter, even if they go 5 rounds, they're going to score like crap. So sometimes it's okay to fade the main event. Tonight is definitely not one of those nights.
All right, then sticking with you on this low tier option, who's your favorite cheapo, if you can even call them that? Because there's.
Oh, it's cheapo. It's a cheapo, and it kind of goes exactly against Bales, where I'm gonna go and look at Malecki.
My Lord.
Yeah. I know. That's why I wanted to know who you were gonna use before we got on here, so I knew not to. I was trying. I was like, can I go ahead and recommend someone like McDessie? But I'm like the upside from Lucky's there.
No, I get what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah, Yeah, she's like you kind of touched on it earlier with the size advantage, which is I think is huge, especially if she gets into the clinch. She's 5'9". Maceto's 5'4". The reach is 74 inches for Malecki. It's 64 for Macedo. There's a lot of physical upside, on Malecki over her. She gets into the clinch. It's gonna be hard for Macedo to take her down. I think Malecki's gonna have a lot easier time trying to take her down. Possibly, there's at 70, was it 7,100 she is. They're just, on a card that, is mostly decisions, as I think we've all kind of touched on, there's maybe one or two fights it's going to go to, could finish inside. I think Malecki's a decent fighter today to get your handle on. I don't know about maybe cash, but I think there's a couple others in this range. And I told a couple people, that DM me about this. I don't mind leaving a little bit of salary on the table today either. I don't feel like you need to fill up your salary, especially in tournaments. Because like I talked about, those high tier people don't really exactly give you a huge, upside. So I see Malecki as a GPP play, and depending on your build, maybe put her in your cash, but definitely for tournaments.
Bales, before you touch on your cheapo, I have a question here from John on YouTube. Wants to know if strategy wise, can you play both fighters in the same line, or is that always a dumb decision, or is it a dumb decision ever?
In cash games, you can. In tournaments, no, because you're just limiting your own upside. That's what we were talking about. In cash games, most of the time, you probably want to stack the main event, play both fighters in the main event, because you get a 5-round floor. Whereas in tournaments, you don't really want to play them against each other. There's times when you can. Like, I think last week, the winner had both Weili Zhang and Joanna, because Joanna scored like 100 in a loss. That almost will never happen. There will be occasions where you can do it. Last week was one of them. This isn't one of them. The loser's not going to score enough to win a tournament, so you don't want to do that. But in cash, where you're simply looking for the highest floor, you want to use both of them to get 2 5-round floors and guarantee the main event winner. You don't always have to do that in cash, but this week is one where you want to stack in cash. But no, you never want to play fighters against each other in tournaments.
Yeah. All right. So let's go on to your favorite cheapo in the bottom tier range.
I'm gonna go with Nikita Krylov. He's 7,600. He's lost 3 of his last 4. He just comes with upside. He's fighting Johnny Walker, who's 8,600. This fight, let me quick pull up the odds. It's not going to. It is minus 610 to finish inside the distance. It is a fight that will not go decision. Neither fighter ever goes decision, like virtually never. Johnny Walker came into the UFC basically an unknown. He's not actually very good, and then he knocked out 3 guys in under 2 minutes total or something. And they kind of put the rocket ship to his back and sent him. But then he ran into Corey Anderson. He got knocked out immediately, which is odd because Walker, just all he has is just a ton of power, and Anderson's chin's glass. So it really makes you wonder what happened in that fight. Whereas Krylov is a more well-rounded fighter. He doesn't have as much power, but he has plenty in his hands to finish this fight. If it goes to the ground, Krylov will have the advantage. Walker's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt, but he's never used it, so I don't really put too much stock into that when he's fighting someone like Krylov, who we know can grapple at a high level. Regardless of whether you are picking Krylov or Walker, and I think if you're only running one line today, you're going to want Walker. Most likely scenario is he walks in, knocks out Krylov in the first, and scores a huge amount of points. But if you need a salary relief option, Krylov just comes with so much upside for so cheap that it makes a lot of sense to use him as well. Don't use them in the same line together. On FanDuel, your MVP will be either Krylov or Walker. I will be willing to bet a decent amount of money that you want to do that. If you're not using one of those, you obviously probably want to use the main event unless you see something where you think someone finishes that isn't expected to. On DraftKings, every lineup should have one of Walker or Krylov. Just on a card that I think only like 2 fights are projected not to go decision. You want those fights, obviously, especially in tournaments. So Walker or Krylov in basically all of your lines, along with either Kevin Lee or Charles Oliveira in all your lines, and then kind of build from there.
All right, now I did mention at the beginning of the pod we're going to be touching very lightly on Prize Picks. Now, if you live in a state, I've been saying this every single time I am on stream with any of our experts. If you live in a state that allows Prize Picks, you need to be on Prize Picks. We're constantly hitting plays, and no matter what the sport is, because you're able to intertwine selections from different sports. But go to prizepicks.online. So www.prizepicks.online. Create an account if you don't have one yet. First, see if you're in a valid state, which is like 25 to 30 of them now. And then use Karma as your promo code, as you see right there next to Bale's face, to get up to $1,000 sign up bonus. So now, that being said, let's transition to Prize Picks. Now, each of you tell me your favorite, the entire thing. Just pick one favorite player based on their current, as of this live stream right now. So somebody's following along with us, and they have the Prize Picks app pulled up. Your favorite person at the current points value, and then if you're going over or under on them. Dave, I'll start with you on this one.
I had to unmute myself again because I know my wife just came home and the dog was barking. So not only would you get thunder, but you hear the barking too. So, just from the upside potential, and if he wins, he's got to finish it in the first round. Johnny Walker at 84.6 is a good over, because if he gets a first round finish, he gets 90 points automatically. So he's going over. So I'm getting that for the upside. It's going to finish probably in the first round, whether it's Walker or whether it's Krylov, I don't know. But I think that Walker 84.6 over is a good one.
All right, Bale, same for you. Who's your favorite, and then which side are you going on him?
Yeah, I'll take Veronica Macedo over. Quite frankly, I do not think that Bay Malecki is a UFC fighter. Macedo, I don't love, but she at least has shown flashes before. I do think that she probably finishes this fight. And if that's the case, 71.5 is a bit low for that. I would assume that she's going to take this down and look for a sub. So she'll get the grappling points as well. Even if this does go decision, I think Macedo has the chance to go over as long as she's performing at a decent level, which I can't imagine that she won't do against Malecki. So I think that one's a bit too low at 71.5.
All right, so we have Veronica at over 71.5, and then Johnny Walker over 84.6. So go ahead, if you have the app already downloaded, plug those two in. I believe Prize Picks right now has a max entry fee on MMA contests just because of the volatility we mentioned earlier of $25. So if you put $25 on those two players go over and make it a power play, which is a 2.5x multiplier, you could turn $25 into $63 just like that. Or to profit $63 anyway. All right, so the last thing I want to mention here, so our NHL guru, Frank, is also watching the stream and mentioned in YouTube a little bit ago. He wants to know your favorite underdogs on the entire slate. Now, this can tie into both from a betting aspect and fantasy aspect. So go ahead and pull up the odds on DraftKings Sportsbook if you don't have them already. And Bill, we'll start with you. Your favorite underdog, well, plus 101 or worse, that you think has the best odds of winning, even if they're not the best underdog odds.
You mean we're talking strictly for...
So both. So your favorite underdog on DraftKings based on their salary and everything, and then favorite underdog if you were to bet on one.
Favorite underdog on DraftKings based on the salary is Nikita Krylov. My favorite dog, let me pull these up quick, based on odds. I would probably just go Charles Oliveira plus 125 if you wanted something a little juicier. I would go Ronnie Yaya plus 160, but if you're going Yaya, I believe, I would go to win inside the distance. I don't really see him winning a decision, which would bump it up to plus 340.
All right, same thing with you, Dave. Your favorite underdog out of all of the tiers on DraftKings. Then also, if you're gonna bet on one favorite underdog there.
Yeah, I think Bales hit it right on the head. I think at DraftKings it's Oliveira. It's just there's it's 50-50 almost. Like he's gonna win this fight. So when it comes to odds, if you like you said, Krylov, if you want something a little juicier, I'll go something different. I'll go with John McDessie over Trinaldo. I think, yes, Trinaldo's Brazilian, but like you said, there's no fans there, so that effect I think is a little hampered here. And if anyone doesn't know what we're talking about with Brazil and judges, every time there's and we mentioned it a few times, I don't think we actually touched on it, but anytime there's a UFC fight in Brazil, there's always controversial decisions when there's one Brazilian versus one non-Brazilian, and it goes to decision. And this would be one of those fights I'd be afraid of, because I think this one would go to decision. But without being there, I think McDessie, has a chance to win. So I did not get in time to get DraftKings up, but I think he's around plus 150. I think right now to win. And inside the distance, on the site I'm looking at, he's plus 675. But I'm not taking inside the distance. Hold on a second. I looked at the wrong odd. So by decision, he's plus 210. So, I think he's probably someone that if I was betting, I might put a little bit on him. Not much though.
All right.
I want to quick change my bet.
No, it's too late. It is stuck in his
Yaya inside a distance. Don't do that. Inside a distance is plus 340. You can bet Yaya by submission for plus 425. The guy has never knocked anyone out in his career. It's not happening today. Just take the sub.
Yeah. There you go. That's a good
now,
one.
So now Yaya by submission. All right. So that pretty much wraps up this stream. We appreciate everyone tuning in here. If you were catching this at any point that's not the very beginning of the stream, it is replayable. So as soon as the stream's over with, give it a few minutes, go to karmamedia.live on YouTube, and you can watch the replay there, fast forward, rewind, catch up on all the things you missed. Now, of course, we're going to be very active in our Discord chat the entire day leading up till the 3 p.m. lock, I believe it is today, 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's where you're going to find the core plays as well. So if you are a member of our premium Karma Nation, you're going to look in the Discord channel, MMA, to see the core plays for today. And if you're not in the premium Discord, you can easily get in the premium Discord by going to dfskarma.com/shop if you want the MMA plays and everything else that we're going to be doing through this craziness of the chaos of the corona. A lot of alliteration there. But yeah, so any other questions, hit us up in Discord. If you guys are in the green, whether it's prize picks, whether it's you do place those bets and they hit, or if it's anything DFS-wise, throw those screenshots up on Twitter, tag our home account at DFS_Karma, and then also tag the person who touted whatever player you felt helped you to get to the green. We've been posting their, or right below their faces, you see their Twitter handles. Make sure you follow them on Twitter as well. Now, I'm pretty positive we're going to be doing a 4 p.m. stream for the Liga MX soccer slate as well on DraftKings, which has insane contests that I've never seen before for Liga MX. Like
all these contests are insane right now.
First and stuff like that. Like, yeah, take advantage of what you got. So we're going to most likely have Frosty and Luke on that one as well. So same channel you're watching this on right now, Karma Media. Go ahead and subscribe to it. We're going to be back at 4 p.m. with those guys. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, guys, and good luck. And hopefully for you first-time players, the volatility doesn't scare you away. But we'll see you guys for the next event.